Well, hello, friends. Real quick before we kick off the episode, I have to let you know about something exciting. I am seriously considering having an upgraded version of this podcast where you get bonus episodes and exclusive content. But here's the deal, I'm trying to decide what that content and those episodes should be. I do have some ideas, and I was wondering if you could vote really quick and tell me what you think about what would entice you, what would be interesting to you to get as bonus episodes on this podcast. For example, deeper dives into topics. Maybe I'm answering questions that many of you ask about starting or growing a business. Maybe even overhearing coaching calls, something like this. It would be a paid, upgraded version of this podcast, not very expensive at all, probably just a handful of dollars a month, but it be extra content for you to help you along your journey. My whole goal is to help you build your business dream. And I would love to offer you even more because some of you are asking for it. So if you could just look down in the show notes right now, there's two ways you can give me your answers. Number one, I have a Google form with 5 quick questions. It can be anonymous. You just answer them and vote on what would be interesting to you. Or number two, I have a voice memo system. You can just click it and you could just leave a voice memo with your phone right now and just record it and tell me what kind of topics, what things would be interesting to you behind the scenes, market news, what would be things that would be extra that would be really valuable to you. So thank you all so much. Okay, on to the episode. Well, hello, I'm Kimberly Brock, and for the last 20 years, I've been running my own businesses that have not only been profitable, but personally fulfilling to me. And so now I'm on a mission to help other women just like you do the exact same thing. Now we're going to have some fun, so let's get started. Well, hello, this is Kimberly. It's episode 14. I'm so thankful you're here today. There's 2 things real quick before we start. First of all, if you are a female and you are looking to start a business or already are running your own business and you seek to find personal fulfillment along your journey, serve a higher purpose, and serve your customers in a way that is personally fulfilling, then please join our group. I've got a lot of people just like you in the group who are seeking to do more with their lives while running their businesses. So make sure you join. Go to Facebook right now. You can go to Start with Kimberly Brock or in the show notes. Just scroll down. There'll be a link to my group. Please join. You're going to have to answer a few questions, get in my group, and it's a way that I can communicate with you too, instead of me just talking in this one-way conversation. And we're all trying to help each other better our business. So I hope you will come be a part of it. The second thing is, I just have to tell you, this episode is a deep episode. So I'm warning you now. It's different than any other episode or guest that I've had on the show. I've got on someone today who is trying to help us create a thriving life and business from the inside out. I'm so excited to introduce you to Mary Hodges of abundantlybeing.com. And her mission is to help women entrepreneurs experience more flow, which you're probably like, wait, what is flow? You'll get to hear about it. So more flow, more fun, and more freedom in their lives. So I'm excited for you to hear our conversation and what abundantly being means and how it can help you in your journey. So it is a long episode. If you've got to split it up in 2, then do it. I don't want you to miss, because at the end, she's giving us some great productivity tips and how to be less distracted in our daily lives so that we can focus on what's important to us and focus on the right things in our business. So make sure you listen all the way through until the end. And I've got all the information in the show notes to hear about Mary's mission and how to join her community as well. But I'm so excited you're here. This is an awesome episode for you just to sit back and think about your real purpose and everything that you're trying to accomplish with your business. So enjoy the episode. Well, hello, Mary. I am so happy you're here today. Your message is going to resonate with so many people, and I'm just so thankful you decided to come on the show.
I am so excited that you're having me, and I cannot wait to get into our conversation.
Well, good. Well, why don't you tell us what abundantly being means to you?
There's so much behind this, but the short and sweet of it is we spend so much of our lives in doing mode. That's what's very dominant in our culture. Take action, go full speed. And for me, it is very personal because I knew I needed to slow down and connect with myself and realize that I have this inner abundance within me that nothing on the outside of me can give me. So it's really about harnessing your ability to be with yourself, know that you have everything you need inside of you, and let that come to fruition and open yourself up to greater possibilities.
Wow. I love that. That's pretty deep there. I love it. Well, why don't you tell us about your website and your community group and what all you offer and how you got to this point?
So I first started my entrepreneurship journey about 5 years ago as a lawyer, and always had that emptiness in the background of, why isn't this really lighting the spark? Why isn't this fulfilling me? And at the same time I had the emptiness, I also had the guilt for feeling like what I had wasn't enough. So I had to kind of wrestle with some of that stuff, but then ultimately made the decision that, hey, life is too short. Like, I deserve to really go after something that really speaks deeper to who I am. So then I kind of set on a journey of discovering what that really was. And I tried doing something in health and fitness, because I'd always been athletic. I love health and fitness for my own personal life. I even tried doing some network marketing companies because I was young and trying to find something else other than what I was doing, right?
Okay.
Well, then I really realized that I had this like almost unique obsession and love for personal growth and personal development. Because when I started a business, I really had to understand how to take my discipline on goal setting and productivity and being focused to another level. And I just loved learning about that stuff. So I initially started a business called The Grind to Greatness. That was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And for me at the time, that business embodied who I was as somebody who really needed achievement, who needed to kind of chase success, because that was all I knew. And I started out really talking about goal setting, productivity, and things like that, kind of on the surface level. And I think what people would begin to see if they followed my podcast, if they followed my blog, that all of a sudden my content starts to get a little bit deeper. I start to ask deeper questions because I'm asking these questions in my life personally. Some of those questions I start asking is like, why are we chasing something that's supposed to be in the future, right? We're told that you have to chase success. That's just the story about life in general. And I started thinking about what that actually meant and just kind of deconstructing some of these ideas that were told about how to have a happy life. That really ultimately evolved into me questioning a lot of things, which I know we'll probably get into in this conversation, but realizing that I was trying to help people on the external things to build a business, right? Their productivity, their goals. But really where people are desperate for the help is getting right on the inside. They're desperate for that guidance on doing the work to know that they have everything they need inside of them. They don't need to look outside of them for fulfillment. And if they can learn to get to that place in their journey, then their life and business will be greater than they ever thought possible. So I made a transition into changing my business name to Abundantly Being, and the business purpose to helping those entrepreneurs work on themselves and get right on the inside so that they can have a thriving life and business and a life that really results in having more fun, more flow, and more freedom, because it's so important, I think, to just enjoy the journey instead of kind of suffering our way to meet some goal that's in the future that ultimately is not going to fulfill us.
I mean,
that's the very long answer.
Yes, no, I'm with you the whole way. And I think we do I get caught in it too, because I'm, the daily grind of everything I need to be doing. And then everything you see online, you should be doing this. You need to take this course. You need to implement this in your business. You need to start this funnel. You need to do this. And it starts going crazy where you are not being authentic to yourself during the process and stopping for a minute and saying, this isn't really what I want to be doing. And maybe that's how you felt when you were, I guess you're still working, you're an attorney, but
Mm-hmm.
you have deep rooted feelings that there's something more for you, which I know a lot of my listeners can relate. And I've talked about that. And so that's why you're here. It's the deep level feelings that entrepreneurs experience, but they also need to know that a lot is within
Right.
and to bring that out.
Right. And really those deep feelings we have is our intuition telling us to do something different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And yeah, so right now I had to like so in the midst of having these deep questions and revelations, there's also like current reality that you have to look at. So
Yes.
I made the
Yes.
decision to not just up and throw away the business that I had to start this business that I know is part of my life's calling, but I made the very like legitimate decision to, okay, I can do this business. I can kind of work out a way to do it almost in like a part-time manner where I'm still generating income. And that income gives me the freedom of mind
Yes.
to
Yes.
make the right decisions for this
Yes.
business that I
Yes.
know I want to do. Because
Yes.
oftentimes when we get those feelings like I'm not doing what I want to be doing, we want to quit and just
Right.
give up our
Right.
old life and start something new. But if you start it from a place of the scarcity of like, okay, now how am I going to get money? Then you're really being pulled away from making authentic decisions for your business that will move you in the direction you need to go. You're more likely to make decisions just for bringing money in so you can survive.
I know.
So
Yeah.
it was important for me to not give that legal work up. And I'll tell you, when I made that decision and when I got to the place of really getting right on the inside, before my law firm used to really, the fact that I had to be a lawyer frustrated the heck out of me. I was trying to chase, like when I was doing my business under the
Mm-hmm.
name The Grind to Greatness, that name in and of itself says like grind to be something in the future or to arrive somewhere else in the future. That's with the idea of like, yeah, if you reach greatness, you'll finally be happy, right?
Right.
I was setting goals in a way that was fixating on the end result and getting that end result. And if I hadn't gotten that end result, I was frustrated. And then also, like you mentioned, all of this bombardment of advice
Yes.
coming at us in every angle,
Uh-huh.
which makes you feel really unsure of yourself because there's so much people are telling you to do that you're left like not trusting your own instincts, not
Yes.
trusting your intuition.
And you question it. You just sit
Absolutely.
there and go, well, maybe I'm not right. Maybe I shouldn't do it this way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So when I was in that mindset, building the grind to greatness, which represented this idea of chasing success, I was very frustrated being a lawyer. Now that I'm in the mindset of understanding that I have to get right with me on the inside, I have to know and truly believe that my happiness comes from inside. My fulfillment comes from inside. And I still have a million things to be grateful for no matter where I'm at in life. That once I really made that transition into understanding that and embodying it, then now I appreciate what role my law firm plays for me. Now I appreciate the fact that I have this ability, I still can work from home. I can bring in this income here. I'm doing work that's, not stressful for me. And I have great clients, and it's allowing me to really be in the mindset and the place to build this business that I know I love in the way that honors my absolute authenticity.
I love that so much. I can think of some people right now that I know that are listeners that are struggling with that. Maybe they're in a job that they don't like, or they have a business that they're just frustrated with and they don't feel, gosh, authentic to the mission or the purpose or what it's doing. They want something more. And I love that you said that you just stopped there and said, now I'm at a point where I appreciate what it's enabling me to do. And it's giving me this time to lay the correct foundations and do it in a smart way so that then I can eventually, have this business to myself and I don't have to work at the law firm anymore.
Yeah.
Not to knock your law firm and not to knock what you do, because I know it's extremely needed. I have to use attorneys periodically, and yes, you're needed and what you're doing is worthy of praise. But I understand what you're saying if it's not filling your soul.
Right. Right. And I think for me, it was that realization. So for people out there listening or finding themselves in that period of frustration, start asking those deep questions. Like, what am I frustrated about? Is it because I think I should be somewhere different than I already am? And if that's the case, you've got to do a little work on how can I actually feel good right now? Even though I'm not necessarily in love with my circumstance. The best way to do that is honestly practicing gratitude. And thinking about the fact, like having to kind of reframe how you look at where you are I know this is not the end for me. This is a season in my life. Mm-hmm. Because I know it's a season, I'm appreciative for what this season is giving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
And just kind of reframing how you're looking at it. Because if you're out there, like not really doing something that fills you up, the world is we have so many amazing opportunities to go and create something that does fill you up. And in the form of a business, or even for some people who they don't maybe want to go the route of entrepreneurship, find a hobby that fills you up at least.
Yes.
So it's like going and taking some action and doing something that fills you up. It doesn't have to be something that you just say, well, I'm going to leave this old life of mine behind and then start this new thing. For some people, that's the right call, but most people, it's not the right call to do that.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that. Wow. So you've got the Abundantly Being website and you've got the community group. Tell us about that. I just want to hear what people could expect if they are a part of it.
So when I made the choice to change my business name from The Grind to Greatness to Abundantly Being, there was a lot of things I was questioning about what I was offering to people, what I was going to sell, how I was going to generate income. And none of those things felt authentic to me. None of what I had created up to that point.
Like what? What's some example?
Well, like I was, going to be like coaching people and helping them kind of get their goals together and get a plan and use productivity. And knowing how I felt internally, it just didn't sit right with me to coach somebody on the things I was doing when I knew I just knew there was something missing from what I was teaching.
Yep.
I couldn't put my finger to it at the time, but I just felt it. So I had like I had a goal setting course. I had a workbook, basically everything that you can think of that an online business these days offers, right? I was doing what everyone else was doing. And it felt very inauthentic because I was told, well, this is what you got to do. You got to set up all these funnels. You got to have an online course. You got to do this. And you'll learn by the end of this episode, you will know that if someone tells me this is what you are supposed to do, I immediately deconstruct that and say, why? Where did that rule come from? What does it serve? And is there a different way to look at it?
I love that. I love it.
And so right now where I'm at in my business, since I've like the transition kind of happened summer of 2019, I decided that, you know what? I don't know right now what a product or a monetary offering that I have because nothing feels authentic to me yet. So what I'm doing right now is I have a entrepreneur group on a platform called Mighty Network. I wanted to take kind of that group idea off of Facebook where so many people do have groups. And right now what I'm doing, it's a free group right now, and I want entrepreneurs to join, and I want us to look at kind of deconstructing some of these rules together, talking about how we can do business in ways that are more authentic to ourselves, that align more with just our soul and who we are and what kind of businesses we want to have. So having conversations about that. And then I would love to see some actual like organic collaboration. So who's in the group that really is doing their marketing in a way that feels very aligned and it's kind of deconstructing the rules of what we know. What can you share with the rest of us, right? And if people come into my group and can get business from other people in the group and we can all collaborate and work together, that would be absolutely amazing to me. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning it now, building a community where people who are very aligned and how they want to do business, and knowing that some of the old ways people are doing business just aren't who they are, and finding people who understand that, and we can support each other along the way. So that's kind of where it's at. A lot of uncertainty about how it will evolve and grow, and I'm actually very okay with that.
Yes. So from a business standpoint, you have taken the leap and started this group, and this is a new group.
Absolutely. Yeah, new.
on the Mighty Networks platform. And just to explain to all my listeners, if you're not familiar, so you know the concept of Facebook groups because I have one, but I'm going to be honest, I struggle with always being on Facebook, but then I also struggle with also being on another platform. And I don't know the right answer to any of this, but I love that you just took the leap and went ahead and started this group. So it's its own platform, and you log in and people can what is it? It's like almost there's topics and things that people are discussing, or what is the actual format of how it's structured?
It's pretty similar to like how a Facebook group runs. So you can have subgroups within it, which is cool. So
right.
I'm just thinking about the future. If there's a lot of people in the group and there's a subgroup for people who are really want to talk about marketing, or maybe there's a subgroup for people in the group that are like the craft makers and the creators in that way. And they have things that they need to talk about amongst themselves that aren't relevant to everyone else. So you can create subgroups, which is really cool. And then of course there's, topics of conversation. All still like, I'm really, what another thing about abundantly being is the idea of just kind of surrendering to knowing that my life will unfold the way it is. Because really the reality is that life is very uncertain. And when we try to do everything to control it, we create resistance to what's supposed to come out. And I'm approaching this new phase for me with the idea that at this moment, there are a lot of unknowns about what this group is going to look like. I have some ideas and some visions for what would be really cool, but I'm also open to just seeing where it goes. And I want to look at the entrepreneurs who join the group as like co-creators of something that's going to be really awesome in the future.
Right. Because everyone's collaborating. Everyone's a part of it that is going to make it bigger and better and effective and all that. So I totally get it.
And another thing I want to do differently, are you ever in like, I know I'm in some groups where like they make it very adamant that people cannot post links in the group. And I understand why you want to limit like people spamming and stuff like that.
Right.
But I definitely want to make space for people to like share the blog post or the podcast episode or the piece of content that you're absolutely the most proud of. So I really want to give people opportunities to showcase like what they do best and to highlight everyone in the group. And then like for people to get business from that, for people to connect with other people from that. So
So are the followers that you have from the Grind to Greatness, are they moving over to Abundantly Being, or how did you handle that transition?
So I have some people so the group is going to be launching so the day we're recording this, the group is going to be launching like this, that'll be done this weekend and ready to go.
Oh, awesome.
So I have people that I'm going to be sending like, hey, just join the group. Come be with me in this space of the internet.
Right.
So most of the people who were following me on Grind to Greatness totally were there with me during my transition and were like applauding like the evolution of where they saw me going.
Yes.
Right. And so, they'll be hanging out there too.
They'll be coming there too. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. And so how do you feel? I know we had talked about this, about the subject of questioning the rules around you, and you had touched on that. Is there any advice or what other comments can you make about questioning the rules? So those of us that feel like we want to, how we go about it, or what that means exactly.
Yeah. Question all the rules. Like I said before, if someone ever tells you this is what you're supposed to do because this is what everyone has done, or this is the way it's always been done, or, hey, I have XYZ testimonial of me making this much money, or this person making this much money from my method, understand that, for me, it's like there's almost 8 billion of us walking around the planet. It is impossible.
Crazy.
Like, I know why society tries to make rules, right? But a lot of times we need to just ask, like, why was this rule made? So just ask yourself, okay, why was this rule made? Who does this rule serve? What is the outcome of me following this rule? And if I break this rule and do something different, what's going to change? So one of the rules you talked about that you mentioned, is like posting every day, right? You have to
Yes,
post on social media
yes,
every day.
yes.
Some people will tell you that in order to grow your Instagram account, you have to be posting 3 to 4 times a day.
I've seen that. And I'm like, what? I don't have time to post 3 to 4. I mean, it feels fake.
So
It
yes.
feels
So
fake to
where
me.
does that leave people like you and me? Like
Exactly.
it leaves us feeling, and if we follow that rule, it leaves us feeling very inauthentic. It leaves us like overwhelmed, exhausted. If you follow the rule, where is it going to lead you? So,
I mean, right. You're stuck in it even more. You
and
have to keep it up.
right. So what I think people can also just like when they're just in this place where they're deconstructing rules too, another thing
Okay.
that I do
Mm-hmm.
is I will look at, okay, so you're telling me to do X to get Y result. The other big thing we have to look at, why is it that I actually need this result, right? Do I actually need to grow my Instagram account to 100,000 followers if it's going to lead to burnout, if it's going to lead to absolute unfulfillment and stress? So we have to ask ourselves, like, kind of like redefining what success looks like for us.
Yes.
And what we actually need to fill us up. So for me, I was like, nah, I tried the 3 to 4. I tried the daily posting.
You did all that.
And yeah, because that's what everyone was supposed to do, right?
Yes.
When we're being bombarded with all these messages, like I also said, you also feel very unsure of yourself. Like you don't know the answer. You know the answer because you feel like when you feel like something's off, that's your body and your intuition telling you that you actually have an answer. And that doing something okay is different. And so when I tried posting every day, I wasn't coming up with content that felt like it was really authentic. And so I was like, you know what? I am just going to post content and write content that feels good to me. And I'm going to create content that really is meaningful. And guess what? If I don't get 100,000 followers from that, I'm okay with that. I know by not creating that resistance and that stress, things are going to unfold in a way that's good for me. I think it's kind of also having just that knowing of that if I'm doing something in a way that honors who I am, if I'm not sacrificing my actual health and sanity to get there, then life is going to unfold for me in a way it needs to.
I mean, it's so true, but then it's hard because I can see my listeners going, okay, so I'm not going to post on Instagram, or myself, I'm not going to post on Instagram 3 to 4 times a day because I don't want to be in that grind. But then people go, well, how then am I getting exposure for my business that feels authentic? And so then we have to go down that path of how do we do that does feel good and right and true to who we are and not fakey and all that.
Or it's like, what can you manage? I think the question too is like, we have to take a look, and people like you are great at helping people with that. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, what is my actual objective here? What do I want out of my business? And what activity is truly aligned with that? So maybe those people that are saying 3 to 4 times a week or every day is too much. Well, maybe it's not too much if you take stuff off of your plate that you shouldn't be doing already. So again, because it's too much for me doesn't mean that it's not too much for someone else. That's the other part of the message I want to be clear, because just because I'm here saying 3 to 4 times, I post 4 times a week on Instagram. Just because I'm here saying every day is not right for me doesn't mean it's not right for you. Maybe you're authentic in doing that, and maybe it feels good in doing that.
And you love it and you enjoy it and it's not draining on you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for people wondering, like, first I would say, like, you got to get a hold on what activities are actually aligned with your business. And a lot of times, like I said, somebody like you can come in and help them look at, this is what your objective is. You don't need to be doing these other things. You need to kind of narrow down what your focus is. So that way, when you are doing those things, you have a really deep focus. For me, my I guess social media focus is Pinterest. So I dedicate my time to learning that platform and seeing how I can expand my business's reach. And I decided I wasn't going to let Instagram and Facebook stress me out.
I love that you're taking a stand on that. And I'm excited too, just as a side note, because I do have a Pinterest guest coming up in a few weeks. And I'm so excited about it because I haven't even started my own Pinterest page. I know I'm embarrassed to tell everyone, but I haven't for my business. And so I'm in a learning process as well. And a lot of people find Pinterest a more, just an easier place to grasp. And it just feels more authentic to them and doesn't feel so
It's also great for
fake.
introverts.
Yes.
It's
So,
great for somebody who
yeah.
doesn't necessarily, like, you've got to be in your Instagram stories showing behind the scenes and doing all this stuff. Well, maybe that's not authentic to you. Maybe, and that doesn't mean that you can't push yourself and kind of
Right.
stretch yourself
Stretch.
out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
what I'm saying. What I'm
Right.
saying is, like, if something truly does not feel authentic to you, then you have to ask, is it worth doing? And then where can you put your efforts
Yes.
in a way that do
Yes.
feel more authentic to
Yes.
you, on a platform that does feel more authentic to you,
Yes.
in a way that you can handle it within your time management?
Yes.
Then because a lot of that means taking a lot of stuff off your plate, which is the reality. I think because there's so much noise out there, we think we have to be on every platform. We think that we have to be podcasting and blogging and making YouTube videos and then posting them on every social media platform every day. And the reality is that sometimes we need to actually scale back tremendously and give ourselves like one deep focus and just go from there. And then
And
you
put
can
the
build
energy.
upon it once you add people on your team and what, you know
Yes.
what I mean? So
Yes.
we're just out here stressing ourselves out
I
because we're
know,
trying
it's
to
so
chase and keep
true.
up.
I know, it's so hard. Well, okay, so if we're trying to peel things away that aren't working, how can we be more productive? What are your tips on how to be more productive with what we are doing?
Sure, absolutely. So I do love the topic of productivity, even though I said I kind of like evolved from just teaching that.
Right?
The biggest things for me in productivity, because productivity has a deeper meaning, and that's about your ability to achieve flow state. And if you are not familiar with what flow state is, it's like this place in your body, brain and body, where if you ever felt in the zone doing something where you're like really enjoying what you're doing, time seems
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like slow down or have
Mm-hmm.
no
Mm-hmm.
concept for you, and you're getting a lot, like you make progress, you feel super accomplished. And flow state, what science is learning and what people who've researched it are learning, is that when you get into that place, when you get into flow and you're doing something that you care about, that's meaningful to you, where you're also stretching like the limits of your
Mm-hmm.
intelligence and you're kind of building and challenging
Mm-hmm.
yourself, that is almost like where you can find maximum fulfillment and enjoyment. And for me, the message to people that I work with and people that listen to my show or my content, or anyone that I can talk to, is it is so important to enjoy the journey. If you're not enjoying yourself, what is the point? And
So
so
true.
being able to access this state of flow is so important in that overall picture of enjoying the journey. And the reason people cannot access flow state is because they are constantly distracted.
Amen.
Constantly distracted. You can only access that place in your brain and body when you allow in zero distractions. It takes about, I think they said, like, generally once you get going and working, it's going to take a little bit of time to really reach that state, maybe like 17, 20 minutes or so. If you get a distraction, it takes you another 23 minutes to get back in the zone, to get back in that deep focus. Yes. So if you're out there working and you've got your phone in the office and you're hearing notifications happen on your phone or your text messages, or you can see that someone emailed you in the tab on your browser, whatever the case may be, or you just have your phone near you and you pick it up and look at it, because I think we look at our phones about 150 times a day on average, which is insane.
If I had a ticker, that would be so scary. I keep trying to put my phone down, but it's this really scary thought. Okay. Sorry. I just had to.
No, it's like but the reality is that we have these devices, we have social media, and their objective is to become addicting. Their objective is for you to spend your time there.
Yes. I try to explain that to my kids. Don't worry that don't feel bad that you're addicted. They're made that way.
Made that
To
way.
capture
Absolutely.
your attention.
Adults are addicted. Adults are not getting stuff done at work
No.
right now because they're on Facebook. So, A, don't feel bad that you like are doing exactly what's these things are designed to do.
Yes.
But now that you know, how can you really kind of construct things in your life to help manage those distractions? Because if you cannot get your distractions managed, you will never be able to reach this ultimate state of fulfillment and enjoyment in your work. And it's important that we give ourselves that because we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of tips for people to,
Yes.
if they're really needing to manage distractions. One is you've got to get rid of multitasking. You simply cannot do two things at once. You have to decide that I'm going to make my focus on doing this activity for my business, and that is going to be my only focus. I tell people if they really want to multitask super badly, they can multitask while they're doing laundry or something that's insignificant. You can listen to a podcast while you're doing laundry. Sure, multitask there all day long. When you are doing your work and when you are building a business, something that is really meaningful, it's helping you survive, it's giving you the income to pay your bills, something super important. You got to give it that level of respect to not multitask it. Don't multitask your relationships either. Those are my two rules. Don't multitask your relationships. Don't multitask your business, and also don't multitask your self-care because you deserve giving that stuff your attention and focus. So stop multitasking. In order to do that, my favorite tool is this thing called Freedom. It is a website and app blocking tool. I think the website is freedom.to.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to check it out. I've never heard of this.
It's amazing. It saves me from myself because, again, like I said, these devices and social media are designed to be addictive. So I would be sitting here lying to you if I told you I was not tempted to get on social media sometimes when I'm not supposed to.
Right.
So what Freedom does is like you can I've set recurring schedules. I said, okay, knowing that I do want to look on social media, I do have to stay engaged on social media for my business. What times of the day can I carve out to do that? And I made that call. Okay, these are going to be the times that I'm going to use social media throughout the day. The rest of it is off limits. And so you can set those schedules up in Freedom, and it will not allow you, like if I picked up my phone and tried to get on Facebook or Instagram right now, it would not allow me. It would kick me off. So,
oh my gosh, I need this. Okay. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes so that everyone can find it and get to it. I love this. This is great.
I can send you a link to it too. Yeah. So that was one thing that was like, I call that a built-in accountability system, right? What can you do to make it easier to succeed and harder to fail? And that for me was a huge built-in accountability system, something that I can figure out one time. Okay, during the week, this is the only time I can check social media. And now that I have that set in Freedom, I don't have to think about it again. And now that I know that I'm blocked from social media, then I'm more likely to not be tempted to even try to pick up my phone when I know I'm not going to be able to get on Facebook and Instagram anyway.
So it actually stops you from even just picking up your phone, which is good.
Right. So it also blocks like shopping websites. So it just depends on what your addictions are.
Yes. Pick your addiction.
Pick your poison.
Block it.
Right. Pick your poison. That was a fantastic, like very small and simple thing that people can implement in their life and see like tremendous change from it.
Man, this is good for my kids too. I think I need to do this. And TikTok is insane. And I have a teenage son who's obsessed with TikTok. So maybe I need to stick this on his phone. Do you have to stick it on the phone or the app on the phone, or do you do it web-based?
So it's both. I have it on I have it on my browser. So like you can have a Chrome extension. So when you're on the actual desktop or laptop, and then there's an app on your phone that will like block the actual apps.
Well, I'm going to start that today after we get done with this episode. I'm going to implement that immediately. Well, awesome. Okay. So we've got that Freedom app. And then what else do you recommend that could help us be more productive?
So I like to think of productivity. So again, we talk about questioning rules, right? Anyone that tells you you should plan your day a very specific way is not considering that there are 8 billion people on earth. So for me, I'm always like the way I would talk about productivity was more about honoring the fact that everyone is unique, right? And what I encourage people to do is always leave room to be spontaneous. What I used to do was, have you ever heard of zero-based calendaring?
No, I have not.
So the concept of zero-based calendaring, some people in your audience may have heard this. If you ever heard, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
People tell you you've got to
Yeah.
schedule things, which I totally agree with that concept in like a big picture way.
Right.
What zero-based calendaring would tell you, which I used to live by, was literally planning out your entire day down to the minute. I had I had a schedule down to the minute of, okay, when I wake up, I'm going to spend time kind of doing my planning for the day. Then I'm going to move to this project. I'm going to allocate 3 hours for it. Then I'm going to eat lunch. Then, so I had literally everything planned out. Well, what I realized was, since I was in a mode of like doing and achieving and chasing success, that was a very big story for me. I was just always, my identity was based on achievement. Changing the business name also meant kind of losing that identity and like death to my old story, and now having to like find like the fact that this big story of mine is not true anymore. So what I realized is that, what if our time is actually more valuable when we're living in the present moment, instead of being obsessed with having everything planned towards reaching something in the future? So I encourage people, plan those important things, plan those appointments that you need to keep, but leave some room for creativity. Because if everything in your life is planned, then that just creates a routine, that creates predictability in your life. And whenever things are predictable, it is very difficult to create something new out of predictability.
I never thought about that.
There was a concept I learned about circulating energy. So whenever we have the same plan over and over again, a routine that's like predictable, sometimes you get to a point where that can create stagnant energy. And when you're feeling stagnant, when everything's predictable, you're having a hard time really creating and kind of moving the needle forward. Because I found that happening to me. So I would have these like systems and rules about how my day was set up, and I would calendar everything. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of weeks, I'm like, God, it's like really hard for me to like create stuff. Well, now what I realized was that over planning is our need to control the outcome, and over planning creates resistance. So I would encourage people to keep those appointments that are really important, but leave space open on your calendar to just kind of let life come into you. I call it planning to be spontaneous. So like, for me on the weekends, I don't plan anything, and I just allow myself to kind of live and let life happen.
Yes.
During the week, I kind of write down, these are the big aims that I have. And again, this is kind of a new strategy for me because I deconstructed that old strategy. I kind of write down the aims that I have, and I'll just kind of work them out in my week. I always get them done. So it's just kind of like, I just want to caution people against over planning, because when you over plan, a lot of times that's fear-based. It's trying to control the outcome, and it's not leaving you room to just like let the beautiful creative stuff that's inside of you come out. So
saying that it's fear-based is very interesting.
That's what I realized it was for me. That's what I realized it was for me.
What were you fearful of? What were you scared of?
Not achieving. My identity was so much based on outward success, right? And that's it. Because as a small child, for me, it was like I somehow came up with the story that when I achieve, when I get good grades, when I do good in sports, I get love in return. So that was a huge part of my story. And not achieving, not always like chasing something or chasing success, was for me like, that was, if I wasn't doing that, I was like afraid of not getting love or not doing what I was supposed to do according to all these rules that people make up. So that need to like plan every second was definitely fear-based for me, because it's trying to control the outcome. It's trying to control, okay, I need to be achieving. I want everything to happen in this way. And sometimes life says, well, that's not the way it's going to happen. And it happens to us all the time, right? We plan stuff that things get in the way of, right?
Right. I just think that's so interesting for people that are, chronic schedulers and calendar makers. And I think it's awesome because they probably get a lot accomplished, but at the same time, it's like you're not leaving room for the spontaneity you talked about.
Well, yeah,
So,
I would ask, like, is that chronic need to schedule everything? Like, is there something deeper? Are you like,
yes. Yes.
what are you afraid of might happen if
Yes.
you don't do those things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still schedule. Like, if you looked at my calendar, there's all my appointments are on there. I think that's super important. I think we have to come to a really like a balance of, hey, I'm going to schedule stuff because I scheduled this podcast interview with you
Right.
because we
Right.
have to schedule, we have to
Right.
keep appointments. We
do
have
it.
to schedule
Right.
stuff. But can I leave room to leave stuff open so that I can ask myself, okay, how do I feel right now? What's going on? Like, what's coming through me? What do I want to create? And then go create that. Of course, there are going to be times in our lives where I say, okay, for me to launch this group that I created, right? These are the things I have to get done, and I want to get them done by this deadline. And so there's nothing wrong with with doing that and scheduling that out. If it's what we live and die by, and it's our life, it's our livelihood, start asking those deeper questions about why we have that need to schedule.
Yes, this is so good for so many people. I think it's interesting. Now, I just have a question. Do you personally use a written calendar, or do you do an online calendar?
I'm a Google kind of girl.
You do a Google calendar?
Yeah.
Because I was like just looking, I keep trying to go from like a written to a online, and it's super hard for me. I don't know why that is. Yes, our family calendar I kind of keep out because I think it's because I need it in my face, and that probably goes back to I'm multitasking and I'm not thinking and I'm not really letting myself go with the flow of the day and know like, oh yeah, okay, what else do I have? I'm not even having time to think, what do I have next? I need to have it in front of my face to distract me from whatever else I'm doing, which is the whole problem.
You may just be someone that gets complete joy from writing your calendar down. So don't dismiss that if that's the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I love technology. I also know that technology can be addictive. So I'm very aware that you got to like be careful about how you use technology. But like, if you looked at my Google Calendar, I have color coding depending on what type of event it is. So I still have a lot of organizational tools and rules that I use in my life, but I don't obsess over them. And I don't, I realized that my need to do that was so much deeper than the need to get stuff done.
Okay. I think that's the key differentiator. Is it because yes. Okay. I love what you just said. That's awesome. I think that's going to hit home for some people. Man. So when you had your business, the Grind to Greatness, and you made courses for people to do their calendars and do their scheduling and all that?
I taught, I didn't have a specific course for that. I taught, I had like content about how to, and I still think it like the content's relevant for some people.
Still valid.
It really depends on where they are on their journey, right? It's like how to use your calendar for success. I think using your calendar is super important. I think there's like a balance between only being spontaneous and being an over planner. And we've got to find that sweet spot for ourselves. And so we have to ask if are the reasons that we're being an over planner, is it deeper than just wanting to get stuff done? And then are our reasons for only being spontaneous, like what's going on there? Because a lot of times people who are super spontaneous have a hard time like keeping commitments and things like that. So we just have to find a good balance in what works for us. And I always did. Another thing I taught about productivity is that a lot of times it's about experimentation, because the methods that somebody uses might not be the best thing for you. So explore your own methods. I think one of them is like the Pomodoro technique, work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, or whatever the fraction is. Maybe that is perfect for someone, but you try it and you just can't get it. That doesn't mean something's wrong with you. Maybe means that the way your style of working might be totally different than someone else.
Yes. To free yourself of that, to feel like, oh, I can't do it. No, maybe this just isn't the right fit for me to be able to.
Yeah. So be willing to kind of experiment with different strategies, different methods and things like that. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't it doesn't work. So,
Mm-hmm.
so on to the next one, right? So,
Right. I know it's like we all need to feel the freedom of not having that pressure of preconceived ways that we should be doing things.
right,
We
right.
need to
I
break free of that.
absolutely. And I think it's so important because those preconceived ways of doing things are what create a lot of insecurity and the unsuredness about what we're doing. And I think that's what pulls people away from doing business in a way that feels good and authentic to them. And I think
Yes.
it's always so important to know that, hey, just because someone says this is great and this is how you should do it, and you don't fit with that, does not mean anything is wrong with you.
Right.
There may be another way. It's just kind of like the idea that all successful people get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That is so untrue. So untrue.
I know. I agree. I do. I agree with that.
And so we put people in positions to, like, comparison is the thief of joy, right? We're
Right.
comparing ourselves to what other people are doing. And when we can't live up to this quote unquote standard of success, whatever the heck that even means, then it's like something's wrong with us. And I think that's just a damaging message to send culture. Like, that's the cultural message. And so part of what I'm doing is trying to deconstruct some of these messages that aren't really serving us, that are leaving a lot of people feeling inadequate, feeling like they don't
Yes.
have what it takes to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
succeed, or those kinds of things. Because a lot of times those rules, like, were also made up by people that just weren't thinking deeper about like, they were really just chasing money. The rules that we know in business now are made by people who were just chasing money. And for a lot of us, we understand that there's so much more to this journey than just getting dollars.
I totally agree with that. Oh my gosh. So deeply, because people that I work with, it's like we want to make money through our businesses, of course, but we're looking for a sense of fulfillment and purpose and moving forward and feel like we're using our authentic self and our skills and our passions for something greater. And I love that that's exactly what you're doing.
Absolutely. Money will come. Money will come
It
if you
will
do
come.
that.
Yes, it will come in a way, and you'll figure it out in a way that feels authentic instead of beating yourself over, what is the saying? You're beating, I can't even think of it. Just beating
Beating
yourself
yourself over
up.
the head with
Yeah,
something, right? I was trying to think
yes.
of it too. I was
You're like,
like, what
what
is
is
that
it? But
saying?
just thinking that you have to be doing it like this and you don't, and you can give yourself time like you have done. You've kept your job that you're really good at, being an attorney, and you can continue doing that until that moment where you've built something that is sustainable for you
Yeah,
and your family, right?
absolutely.
But you're
Yeah.
feeling fulfilled this way and you're still able to appreciate the current job that you have. And I want everyone to do that. If you're in a place where you're feeling not so fulfilled or unhappy with where you are, stop for a minute and be grateful, like Mary said, for what you do have and what it's providing for you, and that you are able to have this time to start something that feels more true to your soul. And you can see where it takes you, and don't feel the pressure that have to chase money immediately, that you need to fill your soul and live
Right. Or that you have
abundantly
to do
purposeful.
it at a certain speed and in a certain time.
Yes. Well, how can everyone find you, Mary? Let us know. And I'm also going to put it in the show notes, but if you would tell
Sure,
us.
sure. So anything I do on social media, my Instagram, my Facebook, and then even my Pinterest account is going to be at abundantly being, and
Awesome.
BEING. It's like,
Got it.
it's
Not a bean, not a BEAN.
when I say that, it's like, oh, I wonder if people know the word I'm saying. So
It's a
abundantly
good
being.
conversation. It's a icebreaker. You're like, not a bean, it's being.
Yeah, so abundantly being. And then the Mighty Networks group is just called Abundantly Being Entrepreneurs. You can search that in Mighty Networks, but I'll give you the link too if you
Yes,
want to share.
perfect. And we'll put it on the show notes so everyone can click through and get to you and become a part of it. So I'm super excited. I'm going to join in today, and you are launching it officially, you said, in a few days. So by the time everyone
Yes.
hears this, it will be up and going, and that is so exciting. I'm so happy for you.
For the first time, like, feel lighter and at ease. I felt very
Yes.
heavy doing the work that I used to do, and with all the pressure
Yes.
to reach something in the future, whatever that was. But now that I'm looking at it from a place of just, like, allowing whatever happens to happen, I feel so much different and feel so much more confident about the outcome, actually.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
an
you.
awesome state to be in. And thanks so much for sharing everything. Oh my gosh, people are going to get so much out of this. And I'm just so thankful that you've come on and shared your story and all the knowledge you have. And you've got something special, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate you having me on the show.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mary. And again, everybody, everything's in the show notes. So you can click through and be a part of her group as well. So, well, you have a good day, Mary. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you got a lot out of this episode and it really made you think and that it resonated with you. If so, can you do me a favor and rate this podcast? If you find value in my episodes, I would be so appreciative. Plus, it will help Apple and Spotify and all the players show my podcast to others just like us who are on this more personally fulfilling business journey. So if you could please rate it, and if you are able to leave a written review, that's even better. And again, I'm going to be giving shout outs, and I would love to shout out your username and thank you on an episode for leaving a genuine and authentic review. So thank you so much for doing that for those of you that have. And I would love to, again, give you a shout out at the beginning of the next episode because I'm going to do it. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful day. Now, this episode may be over, but our relationship does not have to end here. Head on over to KimberlyBrock.com, and yes, you can get more valuable information for your journey. And you know what? You don't need to go through this alone. I would love to help you. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.